God's silence is not absence. It is strategy. Imagine yourself in the place of someone who seems invisible to heaven. Closed doors, decisions made above you, announced danger. It is exactly in this scenario that the book of Esther presents us with divine providence. God working behind the scenes when no spectacular miracle seems to happen. It begins with a grand empire, endless feasts, and capricious decisions of a king. In this environment, a young Jewish woman, Esther, is taken to the palace and becomes queen. At her side is Mordecai, her cousin and mentor. On the other side arises Haman, an ambitious man who turns a personal resentment into a death decree against the entire Jewish people. Seems like the end. But the story was not over. God was already aligning each piece. When the decree of extermination is published, Mordecai tears his clothes and cries out, and Esther faces her greatest conflict: to remain safe in the silence of the palace or to risk her life to intercede. The response that echoes is a call to courage. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther decides to fast, calls the people to fast together, and then goes before the king without invitation, a gesture that could cost her life. Providence opens the first door. The scepter is extended. Instead of haste, wisdom. Esther does not pour everything out at once. She prepares banquets, sets the atmosphere, requests the presence of the king and Haman. Meanwhile, another invisible gear turns. One night of insomnia, the king orders the records to be read and discovers that Mordecai had saved his life and had never been honored. At dawn, proud Haman arrives wanting to hang Mordecai, and leaves leading him through the streets, proclaiming the king's honor. Heaven's script is turning the page. At the second banquet, Esther reveals the truth. She is Jewish and a decree threatens her people. The king is outraged, and Haman's plot collapses upon his own head. The gallows he prepared for Mordecai becomes his end. The enemy falls, but the story does not end with his fall. Realities must be reversed. A new edict is written, authorizing the Jews to defend themselves. Where there was a death sentence, a call to life is born. The people are strengthened, overcome the threat, and turn mourning into celebration. From this arises the celebration of Purim, not as an empty commemoration, but as an annual reminder. God governs through lines we do not always see. Purim keeps alive the memory of divine faithfulness, teaches gratitude in good times and trust in uncertain ones. The final genealogy, with Mordecai in a position of influence, signals that providence does not stop at deliverance. It builds futures. What does this ancient plot say to us today? First, trust in the midst of silence. Perhaps you do not see the sea open, but God is aligning records, encounters, timings, doors. The king's insomnia, the timing of an invitation, the right word. He uses all of this. Second, responsible courage. Faith is not recklessness. It is obedience with fasting, prayer, strategy, and concrete steps. Esther fasted, reflected, spoke at the right time. You too can unite prayer and planning. Third, watchfulness and memory. Record small deliverances, celebrate quiet answers, tell future generations how God sustained your home. Memory keeps faith awake when the night feels long. Fourth, purpose in critical times. For such a time as this is not just a pretty phrase. It is mission. God positions ordinary people in key places, in a company, in a school, in a family, to turn the tide when pressure increases. If today you feel the weight of a contrary decree, a medical report, a red budget, a closed door, an unjust attack, receive this prayer. Lord, you who operate in silence and direct behind the scenes, extend the scepter over me. Give me Esther's courage, Mordecai's constancy, and the wisdom to act in your time. Disarm invisible plots, expose lies, honor what was forgotten, open legal and relational doors. Transform decrees of loss into possibilities of life. Raise me up for such a time as this, for your glory and for the good of many. May my mourning be turned into celebration, and my house into a living testimony of your faithfulness. Amen. Remember, when God seems silent, He is not distant. He is coordinating. Your role is to remain faithful, fast, pray, speak with grace, Walk with courage and record the signs. Providence does not fail. And in the end, what threatens you today may become the stage where God will be clearly seen.